What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Haas Talks, the show where Haas Talks. We are inside the Haas Talks studio at Bob Stern 5 at Port City Raceway. Hey, hope you guys are having a great week so far. This week on Haas Talks, something a little bit different for you. Like I've done before, we've had media personnel, we've had racers, we've had crew chiefs, and so much more. In this week's episode, we get the best of both worlds. A race car driver turned media enthusiast. Some of you may watch his work from time to time. A guy by the name of Kyler Shaw in Fast 4 Media will be on the show right after this from Performance Electronics.
Performance Electronics, custom electronic solutions. From design to manufacturing, let us put your ideas in motion and become your company's full-service electronics manufacturing experts. Performance Electronics.
Welcome back to Haas Talks, everybody. As promised before, joining me, a racer, a media guy, a fun guy, a species unknown to very many, Kyler Shaw. Thanks for taking time to sit down and chit-chat with me, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've always wanted to tell my story, and this is the second podcast I've ever been on, so I'm excited to let everybody know what's been going on.
So, Kyler, for everybody here, like throughout the Midwest, micro people should know who you are because you've covered a lot of the bigger races as far as live pay-per-view subscriptions go. But you're also a racer. You've raced yourself back home in California. Kind of give us a little bit of your backstory, like where you're from, how it all got started.
Yeah, I actually started in micros, so that's kind of where the interest came from to broadcast micros. So that's how that got started. And then I moved into sprint cars as I got older and just kind of wanted to try something new. So the sprint cars, that's where that came from. And eventually I wanted to, make this my career. So I stepped away from sprint cars and started doing some video work.
So was it in your family, like the Shaws? Do they have a legacy of racing in California? And what part of California are you from again?
Central California, so Fresno. And, my brother, he races every week out there. My dad kind of made a name out there, too. He didn't race near as long as we have. But, my brother, he still races to this day while I do the video stuff, so he's keeping the name going out there.
Sweet. So whenever you get started into racing and you're like, yeah, man, this is awesome, adrenaline rush and everything else, when was it, at what point in the racing trilogy was it that you're like, man, this video deal, like nobody really videos anything, or how did that all come about? Like when did you start thinking about media, the media side of it?
Probably a couple years into the sprint car thing. My brother kind of was the one that got me involved in the video. He had this crash video that we used to do, and he would make DVDs and stuff, mainly just for us. So I would go to some races and film for him to catch some crashes, and some guys up in Red Bluff wanted me to come video there because they crash a lot. There's a lot of cars, but it kind of started there. Then they wanted me to start doing highlights, and then eventually it moved on to broadcasting. So it was kind of a weird way for it to happen, but thankfully that did happen.
So you start at Red Bluff, like the G spot, the home of all homes for outlaw karts, and that was like the first entry to anything broadcasting.
Yeah, my first ever broadcast was actually their biggest race, and I kind of got in trouble with a streaming provider because basically they had a thing called viewer hours back then, and we had way too many viewers, so I exceeded the limit and got in trouble my first race because we had too many people. But
that's a good problem to have, though, right?
Yeah, which at that time it was free, so hopefully we had that many viewers. Right. Is kind of the mentality there. But later on, I figured out how to streamline everything through trials and tribulations.
So now you travel the country and you bring to people's homes and to their shops and everything else some of the biggest micro races, period. Like the Hustle. You're representing the Hustle right there. That show at Southern Illinois has been kind of a different one the past couple of years. I mean, by bringing in helicopters and weather and everything else. Whenever you're planning your year and you're traveling, I mean, you travel from California across the U.S. to go to Illinois. When was it the first time that you were like, man, I can do this and I can go places and do this? And do you remember your first time going to like your first long road trip to go broadcast?
Yeah, it would have been SIR. Jake was the first guy to take a chance on me, and then it kind of exploded from there. But the Hustle was the first race I ever did, which is kind of crazy because that's one of the biggest. So you would think I needed to establish a name first and then get the Hustle, but he kind of took a chance on me, and thankfully did, because that is pretty much what led to the success. But yeah, the Hustle, I drove to that one. I think it was about 28 hours or so from home. And I mean, the first year it was rough because I didn't know any of the scenery, anything. If I
Right.
broke down, I don't know what the nearest town is, but now I've done that drive 5 or 6 years in a row, so it almost goes fast because you know everything on the way
Right.
through.
So whenever you're going to a racetrack, like if you're coming to a racetrack for the first time, what are some key ingredients that you list out that you look for before you go to the racetrack? And then whenever you get to the racetrack, what are some of the first things that you look at doing a new track for the first time?
I definitely try to look at their Facebook page, see if there's any pictures of like the scoring booth, a video platform, anything like that, anything to help, just figure out what I need and what I don't need. If I have to take too many things, then it's a mess. But then I'll go on Google Earth, kind of see, how big the track is. So there is some research involved there. And then from there, I could ask questions if I want, which typically, they all have a mixer board, which if they have a mixer board, that makes it really easy. It's mostly just power and audio at that point. So, yeah, just a little bit of research before, and then pretty much good to go.
So whenever you got started, like subscription-based viewing stuff like the pay-per-view or whatever you want to call it, it wasn't really big. So like how did you even learn about broadcasting and everything else? Was it something that you went to school for, or was it like everything's been self-taught?
It's all been self-taught, mostly doing a lot of researching on Google and stuff. And I mean, I am decently knowledgeable with technology, so that definitely helps. But yeah, it was all self-taught. I really didn't have any help other than a couple people I'd ask questions about cameras and stuff. So, there was some people along the road that really helped out with that. But as far as the broadcasting goes, I kind of just had to learn with failure, and sometimes things went good, sometimes things went bad. But when things did go bad, you learn from it and improve. And now my broadcasts are pretty much flawless these days.
Right. So Fast 4 Media quickly became like a leader in grassroots racing broadcasting. Like nobody else was really geared towards the micros or even the karts. And you kind of come along and you kind of change that aspect. Now you fast forward a few years and Flow Racing has come along and become a huge influencer on motorsports, dirt track racing, whatever. You've done a lot of work with Speed Shift TV, the Flow. You've done different things on Flow. You've done all kinds of stuff with different companies. What is it about Fast 4 that separates you from a Flow Racing?
I don't want to say that Flow or any other providers aren't trying to do this, but I definitely want to focus on growing that level of racing, outlaw karts and micros. Typically, other providers go straight to sprint cars and stuff, which is fine, but they already kind of have that coverage. If somebody doesn't do it, somebody else will come in. So with me doing the grassroots stuff, the goal is to basically promote them, which I'm working on more and more, trying to get them more promotion, like the Hustle and stuff. With the subscription, there's more eyes watching that race than ever before. So I'm basically just trying to grow these races, and if I leave, who knows if somebody else will take them on, which a race like the Hustle, most likely somebody would try. But some of these races like Cyclan, Red Bluff, the Outlaw Kart stuff, I don't know if anyone would really try and take it.
And is that why you focus on that, is because you are so involved in that grassroots level and the relationships that you have built, not only with racetracks and sponsors of your broadcast, but also the racers and teams? You've kind of seem to see a lot of these guys kind of flourish and grow up and become excellent race car drivers.
Yeah, exactly. And, like Logan Seavey, for instance, I filmed him since he was running opens at Red Bluff, and then at some point he ran midgets, and I ended up filming him there a little bit when I was working for Toyota. So I kind of got to follow him through the ladder, and most people probably didn't know he was from Outlaw Karts, or they did if they knew his backstory. But, I had been around since he had been running Outlaw Karts, so it's kind of cool to see people climb up the ladder, like Buddy Kofoid now. He was running Red Bluff when I first got there, so cool to see people excel past, the level of racing that I cover and really make a name for themselves. But that's what I want to focus on, is trying to make those names known so they could get further, hopefully, or just promote the tracks.
Right. So you said something kind of interesting there, that you used to work for Toyota, and I totally forgot about that. As a media person, we hear it all the time in racing and racers that, oh, they got a Toyota racing development ride, or they got, a sponsorship through Toyota to go do this or go do that. For you, being a young man in the media world, what was that call like whenever you got hooked up with Toyota? I mean, was that something that you were like, oh, heck yeah, we're going to go do this deal? Or like, was it something that like you felt was going to come sooner or later? You knew that you were producing good content, you were providing a great service, that it was just a matter of fact that, hey, it's going to happen sooner or later?
That was definitely unexpected to work for Toyota. It was kind of just having a connection. One of the drivers that ran Red Bluff was in the pipeline at the time, and he put in a good word for me, so they ended up hiring me. But that was really unexpected to end up there. I definitely thought, Fast 4 would blow up into sprint cars or whatever, but I didn't expect to do work like that at that kind of level. I was going to some big races and following some big names around, so it's definitely surreal to work for them at one point.
Providing and producing that type of content is way different than doing a live stream. Do you prefer one over the other?
I think I'm specialized more in the live stream stuff. Editing's not really my favorite thing to do, but it's obviously part of the job. But I would say the broadcasting side is more what I'm specialized in.
And being a one-man show, people may not know this, but you are a one-man show. You set up everything, you film everything, you edit all the highlights yourself. What's the one thing that that takes the most time that people may not realize, that this isn't just, you just don't log on to the computer and then, hey, there's the Fast 4 logo flashing up on the screen, and wow, they're in Caney, Kansas racing micros.
Yeah, it's definitely the setup and teardown. I mean, you were there with me tearing down after it. There's bugs flying everywhere, and it's brutal sometimes, but that's part of it. I would say the setup and teardown is the longest. But yeah, like you said, one-man band here. If somebody texts tech support, that's me responding, and I have to fit it in with the video stuff too. If there's a heat race on the track and somebody has a problem, I gotta do it in between heat races, which now 600 they roll through the show. Yeah. So it's a little tough to do the tech support here, but other tracks they kind of space things out a little more. But yeah, I do the tech support, the camera work, the production. It's all me.
The graphics and everything.
Yep. I'll set it all up at home to where it's presets or something. All I have to do is click a button and put it on there, but that's still me.
Still a lot of time involved even before you pull out of the driveway to go to the event. How many years have you been doing the broadcasting stuff now?
I want to say this upcoming year will be my 6th, so this is 5 right here, I believe.
So in 5 years, you've gone from a guy that had a little camera, filming carts crashing back home in California, to now this young adult, this young man that's out providing people with the biggest races in the country. Did you ever think that it would come this fast?
No, I definitely thought I would be pretty much doing Red Bluff and Cycleland forever, which is fine. I want to promote outlaw carts, but the micro stuff was what I grew up running, so I was really happy to be able to get a chance to do races like the Hustle. And then at that time, the Hustle and the Sprague were pretty much the only big races, and then the Non-Wing World Championship popped up. I got that one. The Small Town Throwdown / John Hink Championship the last couple of years, I was really thankful to have that race. I did California Speed Week out in California, which honestly I don't know if I did that one before the Hustle or not. So that it might have been Speed Week that kickstarted everything for me. But those 2 races were definitely something I didn't think I would ever be able to do.
Right. So the next 5 years for Kyler Shaw and Fast 4 Media, where do you see it going? I know that we have talked about different companies and production companies trying to come in and say, hey, we want you to come work for us, and hey, we'll buy Fast 4 Media, and hey, we'll take this off your hands if you'll come over here and do this for us. But you've expressed that, hey, and again, like you've said earlier, this is where you kind of like being, is in the grassroots stuff.
Yeah. I would like to say that I would milk Fast 4 as long as it would, basically until I go broke. But you never know what'll happen. I've had a few opportunities that I have turned down to keep doing this, so I definitely don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. But I wouldn't say I would really go any further than I already have. I'm kind of content with just keeping all the races I have, really focus on giving them the exposure that they deserve, and then just keep doing that every year.
Right. So you've been to the shootout, you've been to the Chili Bowl, you've done all that. What, as a race fan, what is your favorite race to go to?
Oh man, that's a tough one. The Hustle is probably one of my favorite races, actually. I really love that place. But as far as anything aside broadcasting and just any race in general, the shootout is pretty fun. It's long days, but I really do like all the racing involved. It's pretty much just racing nonstop. Go to bed, wake up, and then it's racing again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one. I would say probably the shootout or the Hustle. It's pretty close right there.
So you ready for a few rapid fire questions?
Yeah, let's see if I can get you some.
I'll try and keep it PG. You do a lot of traveling. What is your go-to gas station whenever you're traveling across the U.S.?
Definitely Pilot or Flying J. I got a rewards program, so it definitely saves.
Points.
Yep.
What's your go-to snack and drink whenever you're going up and down the road?
I used to be a big soda guy, but it kind of started putting pounds on me, and caffeine isn't my biggest friend anymore. So, honestly, like Powerade Zero now, if they have it. And then as far as snack goes, probably Reese's or something.
Yeah.
I really got to cut that out, but yeah, it's just too good.
Are you an early morning guy or kind of like a night owl?
Definitely not early morning. Definitely night owl.
Yeah. So you'd rather see the sunset than the sunrise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a waffles or a pancake kind of guy?
Oh, man, that's tough. Probably pancake.
Yeah. Sausage or bacon?
Definitely bacon.
Milk or orange juice?
Milk.
Milk? What kind of milk? Like, are you like a straight up hardcore vitamin D or whatever it is, like, or chocolate milk or strawberry or?
I don't know. I mean, I like chocolate milk. I actually am lactose intolerant, so that's a tough debate there. But milk is just so good. Usually, I'll just suck it up and drink it. It's not life-threatening or anything to me. It just makes my stomach hurt. So, chocolate milk if I could, but that really messes my stomach up. But regular milk doesn't affect me.
Are you just get after it and make that drive all the way through, or are you like taking stops along the way?
Probably like in the middle. I definitely do like 17-hour drives per day, but I have to stop at some point. So like I'll stop in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then usually I could go from Albuquerque straight to Tulsa if I don't have the camper. But yeah, I like to go as much as I can without sleeping.
Whenever it comes to racing and being a race car driver, were you a guy that was like up at the fence, or were you like a bottom feeder?
I'm definitely a bottom feeder, but the fence is more fun.
Are you a wing or non-wing fan?
Non-wing. I was better at it.
Are you like a bull ring track or big tracks?
Bull ring for 100%.
Are you a throw the slider or be cautious?
Kind of in the middle on that one too. I definitely don't try to wreck other people's stuff, so I'll set them up and then throw a slider, but I wouldn't say I'm too aggressive there.
Are you more of like a Facebooker or a Twitter guy?
Facebook.
What is your Facebook is Fast 4 Media?
Yeah, and then I have the personal Facebook as well.
Yeah,
Kyler Shaw.
we don't want to give people that.
Yeah.
That one's kind of, it's not PG. I'm just kidding, it is. But you're also on Twitter at Fast 4 Media.
Yep, and Instagram.
If there's one thing that you could tell people, so let's just say the people inside that camera have never seen Kyler Shaw, have never heard of Fast 4 Media. How would you describe Kyler Shaw and Fast 4 Media?
Man, I don't know. Fast 4, that's a tough question. Obviously, Fast 4 is the broadcasting and video production stuff. As far as me, I'm not that really interesting. So
he actually really is. He has a good point sometimes. If you ever catch Kyler outside, just buy him an ice cold beverage and chit chat. Fast 4 Media, Fast 4, where did it come from? Like, who thought of that?
Oh, I knew this question was going to come someday. It's really dumb, but I was trying to think of a name, and I didn't want to name it like Shaw Media or something.
Right.
You know, just
kind of like Haas Media, like who?
No jab.
Kind of, yeah, no jab, no jab. He says.
I just I wanted to create something aside from my my last name.
Yeah.
So I was like, cars are fast and they have 4 wheels. So I told you it's really dumb, but it works. I mean, nobody really has questioned it all these years.
So with subscription-based stuff all the time, you have different costs associated with it. Do you have, on Fast 4 Media, is it a deal where you have one big package for the whole kit and caboodle, or is it a race-by-race purchase?
There's both. You could buy a $30 month package, and that gets you every race for an entire month, or there's the yearly package, but obviously that's more expensive for people that are just trying to watch races like the Hustle and the Non-Wing World Championship. But there are single-day passes too, so you really can do anything there, but the Platinum membership's definitely the way to go, $30 a month.
So $30 a month, you can watch all the races that Kyler covers. Kyler, if you were giving a future racer or a future broadcaster any piece of advice as they go down that trail of their own little journey, what piece of advice would you leave people with?
Oh, there's 2 answers to that. As a racer, I would say, if you're racing and you're not having fun, that's about the time you give it up. If you're not having fun, it's not worth it. And that's kind of where I was at one point. I really wasn't happy with racing anymore when I first started Fast 4, so I kind of ventured out. But now I get back in the car every now and then, and it's really fun, and I'm having the time of my life when I get to run the car. But as far as the video and broadcasting side goes, I would say, it's you hear it all the time, but basically don't give up. I went through a lot of struggles in the beginning. Basically, people sending me death threats. I had a stream go down once, and this dude called me up and left me a voicemail and gave me a death threat. So people are wild, but basically, just don't give up, even if people are mean or
right,
sending you death threats.
And that's something that you're always going to encounter as people sit at home. They don't understand the backlog of it, the back side of things, and I mean, it's technology. So if you're going through racing, always have fun. And if you're going the media route, don't give up. And hey, ask questions. Thanks for watching this episode of House Talks. We'll catch you in the next one.